Welcome on F1 Unstoppable. Shocking confession. Verstappen just dropped a bombshell that could end his F1 career.
The dream is dead before it even began. Lawrence Stroll's billion-dollar investment, Adrian Newey's legendary genius, Fernando Alonso's unquenchable hunger. On paper, the most powerful alliance in motorsport history. On track, the paddock's greatest tragedy. The AMR26 isn't just slow, it is physically destroying itself. Here's what happened. Newey arrived at Aston Martin demanding Honda produce a two-level battery configuration, a radical design to achieve slimmer bodywork than any rival on the grid. Honda's engineers warned him repeatedly, thermal management would be impossible. The risk of thermal runaway was real. Newey wouldn't listen. The result was catastrophic. During Bahrain testing, heat transfer between battery cells collapsed every 10 laps. The car was stranded, broken, embarrassing. But it gets worse. Albert Park's famous bumps are generating structural resonance frequencies through the engine-to-chassis mounting points that are literally tearing the two-level battery casing apart. At 300 kilometers an hour through turns 11 and 12, the vibrations escalate to levels that physically damage the battery cells. Andy Cowell is in Sakura right now working emergency countermeasures with Honda engineers. But the paddock knows the truth. You cannot fix a structural flaw by tightening a bolt. Scoring points in Melbourne? A pipe dream. Seeing the checkered flag in one piece, that's the only goal left. And the blame war? It's already started. Newey pointing at Honda's battery technology. Honda firing back that Newey demanded the impossible and ignored basic physics. Fernando Alonso caught in the crossfire of the most expensive ego war in Formula One history. Melbourne isn't Aston Martin's launch pad, it's their emergency room. Now, shift your attention, because while Aston Martin burns, one partnership just changed everything. Max Verstappen, Mercedes-AMG, two names nobody expected to see together, until now. For 2026, Verstappen Racing has received full factory designation from Mercedes-AMG. They are no longer a customer team. They are officially Mercedes-AMG Team Verstappen Racing. Factory designation means direct access to Mercedes-AMG's top-level GT3 expertise, stronger integration with one of motorsport's most powerful organizations, greater competitiveness in endurance events, and a clear pathway to bigger programs in the future. This is not a small deal. This is a statement. The team's confirmed drivers for 2026 are C. Lullum, D. Juncadella, and Jay Gonen. Their GT World Challenge Europe campaign begins April 11th at Paul Ricard. Verstappen himself was already at Paul Ricard this week, trackside, overseeing testing personally. And there are reports he could be behind the wheel himself at the NLS2 race at Nürburgring on March 21st, preparation for a potential Nürburgring 24 Hours appearance later this year. This is not a hobby. This is a man building a second empire in plain sight.
The GT3 news alone would have been big enough, but the moment it hit the Formula One paddock, the reaction wasn't about endurance racing at all. Because Toto Wolff just placed the Verstappen name next to the Mercedes logo, and everyone inside Albert Park immediately understood what that really means. This partnership is being read as a pre-approved signal of where Max Verstappen could head in 2026 if the Red Bull-Ford project continues to struggle. Red Bull themselves have admitted they are likely the fourth fastest team this season. Their power unit partnership with Ford is unproven. Their internal structure is rebuilding after losing Horner, Marco, and Newey in the span of months. And Toto Wolff? He's been waiting patiently. George Russell is already feeling the shadow closing in. The gap between Mercedes and the Verstappen name is narrowing, deal by deal, logo by logo. Inside the paddock, this isn't seen as a GT3 story. It's seen as Toto Wolff's greatest psychological victory, placing Max Verstappen inside the Mercedes family before a single negotiation has officially begun. And now, the story that Formula One is truly not prepared for. February 20th, 2026, a podcast, Up to Speed, hosted by Naomi Schiff, someone who karted with Verstappen as a child. No PR filter, no rehearsed lines. She asked him simply, where does he see himself on the timeline toward leaving Formula One? Well, definitely closer to the end, that's for sure. Then the laughter stopped. Honestly, the current regulations are not helping the longevity of my career in Formula One. He described a ski trip with his family, his sister's boyfriend getting married, slopes, laughter, presents, and then he said, who cares about going 24 times a year around the world hunting for another title? I want to live my life. You only live once. 500,000 views in days, not for lap times, for those words. And here's the pattern nobody can ignore. 2022, I won't race until I'm 40. 2023, enough is enough. 2024, asked if he'd do another 200 races, one word, no. 2026, definitely closer to the end. Each statement more personal, each one harder to dismiss. Within 24 hours of that podcast, F1 CEO Stefano Domenicali was on a plane to Bahrain. He sat with Verstappen, he held a press conference, and said, I guarantee you that Max wants Formula One. CEOs do not fly to Bahrain for drivers who are bluffing. Verstappen's contract runs through 2028, but it contains performance clauses, and with Red Bull sitting fourth on the grid, those clauses could activate sooner than anyone expects. The GT3 deal, the retirement signals, the CEO scrambling to Bahrain. This isn't three separate stories. This is one story, and it's only just beginning. Who's really in control of Max Verstappen's future? Red Bull, Mercedes, or Max himself? Drop your prediction below and subscribe because the next chapter drops before Melbourne's first lap is even driven.